Hey guys, I'm Amanda, I'm a financial writer, and welcome to the Personal Finance Diaries. Here we talk real money, saving, debt, and smarter financial decisions. Today's topic is how to compare credit cards. So credit cards can be really confusing, especially if this is like your first credit card that you're opening. Obviously it's really important to have a credit card. Some people get by without it, but a lot of people find it to be a good way to kind of build up a credit history and then make some of those major purchases and larger loans possible down the line. But even if this isn't your first credit card, it still can be pretty confusing if you're looking for a new one. And so I just kind of wanted to go over the process and what you should really look for when comparing credit cards. So the first thing that I should address here is the APR, which is the annual percentage rate. So if you're not really familiar with that, or you just kind of need to brush up here, that's the interest rate that you will pay if you don't pay off your balance in full each month. And it can run pretty high. So a lot of times it is like 20-something%, which is extremely high. It's a lot higher than like an interest rate you'll see on like a bank account, savings account, or anything like that. So this can be a serious problem. If you don't pay off your balance in full every month, you could accrue serious debt. But if you do pay it off every month in full, on time, you won't be hit with this interest. So really the APR won't really matter in those cases. But that is just something to keep in mind. And the different credit card options that you will see, they will vary. Like the APR is not going to be the same for each card. There's a wide range that you'll see, really. And so you do kind of want to weigh that potentially, because if, things happen and if there's an emergency or something happens and you can't pay off your balance, then that APR really does come into play. And so it will be important there because it can determine how much debt you'll really be getting yourself into. So that's just kind of what I wanted to start with there. The other thing, when you're looking at credit cards, some of them will have annual fees and some of them won't. So certain credit cards, there is an annual cost that you'll have to pay to use that card, while others are completely free. So what you'll have to weigh in this case, like if you're looking at cards that have an annual fee, you're really going to have to kind of think about how much are you going to be using that card, and are the rewards going to end up being more than the cost of using the card each year. And if so, then it could actually be a good deal for you, because then you'll get more back in rewards than you would than you're paying in the annual fee. But that is a problem though if you don't use it that much. Then you're paying an annual fee and you're really kind of losing money on the credit card, which is really kind of the opposite of what you even want to be doing with a credit card, because a lot of people get the cards for the rewards. And so I'm going to get into that here. So rewards, they do vary. A very common structure that you'll see is like cashback rewards. This is really like the simplest kind of reward structure to understand. You get a certain amount that you spend back as cash, so it'll like offset your statement balance and things like that. So like a common structure you'll see is maybe you'll get like 1% cash back, but certain expense categories you can get more cash back. So like, a common one I see is like 1% cash back on just general purchases, but on like dining and gas expenses, you may get a higher percentage, like 2%. So that is just something to note. It's not usually just a blanket percentage for each expense type. There can be some variation there. So that is something to note. And then, besides cash back, there are other kinds of rewards you can get. So like miles and points, you'll probably see those thrown around a lot. Those a lot of times are used for like travel, not always, but that is kind of where you'll commonly see them. So if you're someone who travels a lot and you want these rewards to go toward like hotels and airfare, you may want to kind of look for the cards that have that kind of reward structure. It really just kind of depends what you want and what your goals are. So that is something to note. The other thing I want to mention here are introductory offers. So some cards have like introductory offers if you're new. So that could be like a welcome bonus. So like they could give you a gift card, certain cash rewards right away, miles, things like that. So that's just something you would get up front. So I wouldn't base like your whole decision off that, because it doesn't really matter that much down the line. That's just something you get up front, but it is something to consider. Same thing kind of goes for the introductory APR offers. A lot of credit cards give you like 0% APR for a certain amount of months, say like 12 or 15 months, and then it will go back to the normal APR. So that is, again, maybe it matters up front, but in the long term, it doesn't really matter, because you'll be reverting back to the standard APR. But it is something that you could factor in. Now, the other thing I want to mention is the difference between secured and unsecured credit cards. This is really important, especially if you're new to credit cards. So kind of what you usually think of with a credit card is an unsecured card. Whereas with a secured card, a lot of times it's easier to qualify for those. A lot of people use that as like their first credit card. And how it works is that you put down a security deposit, which can be an amount that you choose. Usually the minimum is maybe around $200, but it really depends on the card specifically. And then the max can sometimes go into the thousands. And so the amount that you put down becomes your credit limit. So that's the max amount that you can put on the card. So you do kind of want to think about how much credit you really need, and how much you're going to be using it. So you put down your security deposit. The reason that secured cards work so well for people that are new to credit is because it's less risky for the card issuer. So like, if you don't pay off your balance in full, they'll just use your security deposit to pay it off. So they'll just take your money there, and because you already put it down. So they don't really have to take on the risk of like someone new to credit and not knowing if they're going to be able to pay it back or not, because they have your money there. But if you do pay off in full every month your balance, then eventually you'll get that security deposit back. So this usually takes somewhere around 6 to 12 months. It really just kind of depends. You'll get that deposit back, and then a lot of times they'll convert your secured card to a standard unsecured credit card. So that is kind of a really good way to get started with credit, and it's just something I kind of wanted to mention there. Other potential options if you're new to credit are like student credit cards. Those are usually pretty easy to qualify for. They really look mostly at like income. They don't really look at like your credit history that much, because they know that a lot of people don't have much of a credit history, especially if they're like young students, like college students. But you could potentially use a student credit card even if you're older and like in grad school, or you went back to school later, or anything like that. That's another option to look at if you're new to credit. So these are all things to kind of consider when you are looking for a credit card and when you're comparing them, because there are quite a few different credit card options out there. And so what I want to kind of show you next is how to use comparison sites to help you narrow down in your search, and kind of help you kind of choose what the best card could be for your situation. Because the problem is that if you don't use a comparison site, which kind of aggregates several credit cards, I'll show you this in a second, but if you don't use a comparison site, you really could end up in a situation where you have like 12 browser tabs open, and it can be a real headache. So I'll show you how a comparison site works. So this is the comparison site Best Money. So this is what it'll look like when you first arrive at the site. This is a good site for comparing like a wide variety of financial products, as you can see, but credit cards are included there. So when you click on that, this is kind of what you'll see. And you can kind of filter through this. You can click on these different categories to get like the specific kind of cards that you're looking for. And they do also have an overall like best of list. As you can see, they kind of break down like the welcome bonus, rewards rate, annual fee, intro APR, regular APR, and then also like the recommended credit score to apply there. So then it breaks down the rewards, and there are also reviews to look at to kind of get an idea of the features, and also pros and cons. So you can kind of scroll through that list, and it really presents the information for a wide variety of cards really clearly, so that can be helpful when you're making your choice instead of going to each individual card issuer's website. And then, as I said, you can kind of filter depending on what you're looking for. So if you want like a cashback card, you can click on that, and they'll show you their top cashback cards, travel cards. That's another thing. If you're interested in traveling and using your rewards for that, that have the best travel cards here. No annual fee cards. They really kind of aggregate quite a few of those. And then also like 0% APR if you want that introductory offer. So that's kind of how Best Money works. I would definitely recommend using a comparison site, and probably several of them, honestly, to get a good idea of what's out there, because it is very difficult. It can be very difficult to compare all these because it's overwhelming. There are a lot of choices out there and a lot of different specifics that you'll be looking at. So yeah, comparison site can definitely help you. So yeah, I hope this video kind of helped you get an idea of what to look for when you're comparing credit cards and how to compare them the best way. So thanks for hanging out with me on the Personal Finance Diaries. If you found this useful, don't forget to subscribe. We're all about making smarter money moves. See you next time.